These are 3 unique layups that you need to score in today's game, especially if you're a small guard. Let's get started. Gone are the days where you always pick up on the right and then take the left step for the layup on the right side. It's great to have that down first. You definitely want to make sure you get that down. But once you got that down, that becomes predictable, and there's a lot of different game situations where that's just not going to work. So the first is a layup I showed you on the intro, but there's a couple different ways we can do it, and it's the inside hand or the goofy hand layup. If I'm on the right side of the hoop, that would amount to finishing with the left hand. But it could also mean I'm doing a reverse layup, right hand on the left side, and there's different ways we can jump with it. So let's cover all those. The first is great if you have a defender right here or maybe trailing you here. You're gonna gather, jump off of 2 feet. So it's still gonna be a right left like on a normal layup, but instead that right left is gonna be both feet on the ground at the same time. You're not gonna lift that leg. That gives you a lot of options now because you're in good control. You can kind of jump around in different directions, but on top of that, you're turning your body away from the defense here so you can kind of shield yourself from them. And then from there, you can make a read. If they're coming to meet you here, then yeah, you can still adjust and use the outside hand and kind of come wide. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But a lot of times, if you feel like you can use this kind of slow down, because when you jump off of 2 feet, it kind of slows you down to throw their timing off and they kind of slow down with you, you can sneak this hand in here quick to get in front of them. Or if they're just trailing too much here, you can just use it to quickly get the ball to the hoop. For a reverse layup, it would make sense if maybe you got a defender here waiting for you. You can keep the ball away from them. You can use this off arm for protection. And if you jump off the opposite foot, we'll talk about that more in a second too, you can use that leg for some protection. And again, it's just a good quick way to sneak the ball in tighter versus if you use that left hand, it's gonna be wider. So maybe even if you have defense over here, this is gonna bring the ball a little bit further away from them by having it here versus here. One thing that'll help you take this and everything else in this video to the next level is the free scoring hacks pinned to the top comment. Check that out when you're done with this video. And then the other way you would want to work on this is going right, left, but jumping off one and having that inside hand to finish. This is good for maybe if you got a defender over here and you want to get the layup off quick before they can get to you. Plus you can use this arm to protect the basketball. So all 3 of those variations I'm kind of putting into one concept, and it's basically using the inside hand or the wrong hand, the goofy hand. Simple thing you can do to work on this is come right next to the rim and work on left hand on the right side, going underhand, going overhand, maybe even bringing the ball all the way across like that, adding a little spin like this, sort of that jelly spin where you rotate your wrist and the ball comes off the thumb last. And if you do that on both sides, that'll kind of have you covered, because some of those finishes like this is kind of like your reverse. And then one thing you can play around with too is just turning your body, right? So I'll be here, right side of the hoop, and I'll still use my left hand, working on different releases. And of course, do all that on the left side of the hoop as well. Once you got that down, then start working on doing some of the ones I showed you earlier. Moving to the hoop, start slower like I did there, gradually pick up the speed, and you'll be ready for a lot more game situations. This next layup is unique in some situations, not all. You'll see a lot of players on the reverse layups show the basketball maybe on one side, maybe they won't even show it, but then from there, they're gonna bring the ball really wide to the side and get some of that side spin on like that. But what you won't see a lot of players good at is staying on the same side and using that right hand wide or coming down the left side wide. From that reverse motion, a lot of players are real comfortable with that because they can kind of swing the ball out. But when you are coming straight down and you're keeping the ball wide to keep it away from them, you really don't want to rock it towards them in most instances. Because of that, you don't really get that nice little scoop, you know, this little motion underneath the basketball and get that spin on real easy. It just feels more comfortable doing it that way. Here, you're going to want to keep the ball more out to the side, and you're going to have to rely on just keeping the elbow tight and then extending it out straight. From there, you can use that ball spin onto the backboard to hit the backboard wide. Another way you'll see a lot of players do this is more of kind of like sidearm, almost like a hook shot type layup. And you can use this to try to go straight for the rim, but you can also use it to go for the backboard. When you use that spin though, where your hand comes directly to the side like that, you're gonna aim a little further towards the middle, because that spin's gonna kind of pull the ball back a little bit that way or make it drop straight down. But when you use the side spin like this, where your hand comes under and comes off that pinky last, that's gonna bring it more from here over, so you would hit the backboard a little wider. I definitely recommend you get this off of 2 feet and off of 1, so when you need to come down the lane real quick, you got that nice sidearm finish. You can get it off fast, but still protect the ball. To work on these, you can stand right under the middle of the hoop, so you can look up right up to the middle and just work on doing that side spin, so coming off the pinky, but then also working on more of that side arm hook shot type release off the backboard and going right for the net. Of course, do this on both sides. And just like the last finishes, once you got that down, then start doing it to the hoop with a little momentum And for all these, both stationary under the hoop and running to the hoop, pay very close attention to not let that basketball come across your midline, right where your belly button is. Try to keep it on that side of your body and extend out. If you can, even try to keep it by the hip. That'll make it even harder to guard in games because now you're keeping the ball even further from the defender. You'll even see Kyrie keep the ball out here a lot where it's really hard to get to it. And that's something you can definitely work your way up to. Third one you'll want to have down is the goofy foot finish. So you could finish with either hand, but you'll notice I'm lifting the inside leg, the opposite of what you're probably taught when you're first learning how to do your layups. There's a couple different ways we'll want to have this down again. For starters, you'll want to be able to go off that 1-2 steps and finish left and right like I mentioned. You also want to have this down for your reverse layup. So right, left. If I'm on the left side, right leg up, finishing with both hands there. And on top of this being good for giving protection if you got a defender here, it's also a way to throw defenders timing off or anticipation because you're going to pick the ball up on a step that they won't expect because usually they're used to subconsciously, whether they're paying attention to it or not, to you picking up the basketball on that right step and going up for that normal layup. Another way we can throw off their timing with this is a little more challenging though, is to just pick it up on that right step and go right up for the layup. Normally on your layup, you would pick it up on the right step, but you would take that second step. Here we're gonna one step the layup, pick it up on the right and go right up for that layup. Great way to throw defenders timing off. You can do that underhand close to the hoop. You can do it further from the hoop to get more of a scoop floater off. Or of course, you could go further from the hoop and work on that floater with either hand with the overhand position, hand behind the ball like this. Another great way you can use this one step is a lot of times if you're here, the defender thinks you're probably gonna take that second step and come here. So you can really throw off their positioning because they're expecting the reverse and boom, you go up for that one step layup on this side. These might be a little more difficult to get down at first. They're gonna feel awkward. So if you wanna start super basic, you can just have the opposite foot up and use that left hand and right hand and just do this right here. You don't even necessarily need a hoop, just pretend there's a hoop here, just to get used to having that goofy foot up and pushing the ball into that direction and getting the body coordination and just feel for it, comfortability. Because a lot of players just having this leg up will feel weird. Once you got that down, then you can come by the hoop, do this, you can use both hands. You can even bring in some of the other finishes we worked on before. And then from there, start bringing a little footwork into the mix. So one thing that'll throw a lot of players off with this when they're first getting it down is picking it up on the correct step, right? So you wanna pick it up on the right step if you're on the left side. So that way, on that second step, the right leg will be up. So right, left, here. One thing that can help is just stay put, get that right foot on the ground, balance on it for a second, and then go off that left step, just like that. So you're just taking your 2 steps, but you're slowing it down. So you can just get the feel for that, get comfortable with it. And of course, like I mentioned before, you can do this with both hands. You can change around those hand positions like this. Then get a bounce into it. Right, left, goofy foot. Bounce, right, left. You got inside hand. And of course, all this stuff you can do into your reverse layup. So if I'm gonna go to the left side, it would be left, right. And then for those one-step layups, dribble, pick it up on the left and just really slow that down. Push it out, making sure you're picking it up on that left step and immediately getting off that foot. If you need to pause here and then go up, do that. Little by little, you can get rid of the pause though, and it'll be more of a short pause, right up, until eventually it's just boom, right into it.
And one thing that'll help you take all this stuff next level is the free scoring hacks pinned to the top comment.